Fry giant feels the heat. Lamb Weston closes plant. Lamb Weston, a major supplier of French fries to McDonald's, is closing its plant in Washington state. This decision has sent shockwaves through the local community and the food industry at large. This closure will result in the loss of 375 jobs. Many of these workers have been with the company for years and now face an uncertain future. The company cites inflation as a major factor in this decision. Rising costs of raw materials, transportation and labor have made it increasingly difficult to maintain operations. Lamb Weston is the biggest French fry producer in North America. Their products are a staple in many households and restaurants, making this closure particularly impactful. The company says the closure is necessary to balance supply and demand. They believe that by consolidating their operations, they can better manage their resources and remain competitive in a challenging market. They claim it will not affect their ability to supply their customers. Lamb Weston assures that they have sufficient capacity in their other plants to meet current and future demands. However, this move reflects a larger trend in the food industry. Many companies are struggling to cope with the economic pressures brought on by inflation and supply chain disruptions. Inflation is squeezing both suppliers and restaurants. As costs continue to rise, businesses are forced to make tough decisions, often at the expense of their employees and customers. The local community is rallying to support the affected workers, but the road ahead is uncertain. This closure is a stark reminder of the broader economic challenges facing industries today.
The domino effect inflation bites the food supply chain. Inflation is not just a number on a chart. It has real-world consequences that ripple through every stage of the food supply chain. Inflation is impacting every part of the food supply chain. From the fields where crops are grown to the factories where food is processed, every link in the chain is feeling the pressure. From farmers to manufacturers to restaurants, businesses are struggling with rising costs. Farmers are paying more for seeds, fertilizers, and equipment. Manufacturers face higher costs for raw materials and energy. Restaurants are dealing with increased prices for ingredients and labor. For suppliers like Lamb Weston, these costs are difficult to absorb. The company, known for its potato products, is finding it challenging to manage the rising expenses without passing them on to consumers. Consumers are buying less due to higher prices. Shoppers are more cautious, often opting for cheaper alternatives or buying in smaller quantities. This shift in consumer behavior is affecting sales across the board. This means less demand for products like French fries. Restaurants and fast food chains are ordering fewer supplies, leading to a decrease in production and sales for companies like Lamb Weston. Suppliers are left with excess inventory and pressure to lower prices. The surplus of unsold goods creates a financial strain, forcing companies to find ways to cut costs or reduce prices to move their products. Lamb Weston CEO Tom Werner acknowledges this difficult reality. He has spoken publicly about the challenges the company faces and the strategies they are implementing to navigate this tough economic landscape. He expects the current oversupply of potatoes to last for another year and a half. This prolonged period of excess supply means that the company will have to continue finding ways to manage costs and maintain profitability. This situation highlights the precarious position of food suppliers in an inflationary economy. The entire food supply chain is under stress, and the effects of inflation are felt from the farm to the table, impacting everyone involved.
Empty plates, empty pockets, consumer spending dwindles. The sight of empty dinner tables and wallets with just a few bills is becoming all too common. American consumers are feeling the pinch of inflation. The rising costs of everyday essentials are making it harder for families to make ends meet. Rising costs for essentials like groceries and gas are forcing people to make tough choices. Families are now having to decide between buying enough food or filling up their gas tanks. Dining out, once a regular treat, is becoming a luxury. More and more families are opting to cook at home to save money. A recent survey found that 80% of Americans now consider fast food a luxury. This shift in perception is changing the way people spend their money. This shift in perception has led to a decline in fast food consumption. Fast food restaurants are seeing fewer customers and a noticeable drop in sales. Consumers are cutting back on discretionary spending and restaurants are feeling the impact. Many eateries are struggling to stay open as fewer people dine out. This trend underscores the far-reaching consequences of inflation. It's affecting not just businesses, but also the daily lives of ordinary people. It's no longer just about numbers on a spreadsheet. The impact of inflation is being felt in households across the country. It's about real people making difficult decisions about how to spend their hard-earned money. Families are having to prioritize their spending, often sacrificing wants for needs. Many are turning to budgeting and couponing to stretch their dollars further. Every penny counts in these challenging times. Community support systems like food banks are becoming lifelines for those struggling to afford basic necessities. The demand for assistance is higher than ever. Despite the hardships, families are finding ways to cope and remain hopeful. The resilience of the American spirit shines through even in tough times.
Fighting for foot traffic, the rise of the value meal. Faced with declining sales, fast food chains are turning to a familiar tactic, the value meal. Chains like McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's are offering discounted bundles to attract budget-conscious customers. These meal deals typically include a combination of popular items like a burger, fries, and a drink at a lower price than purchasing each item separately. The goal is to create the perception of value and entice customers to choose their restaurant over competitors. While these deals may offer short-term sales boosts, their long-term impact on the industry remains to be seen.
Value meals may be a win for consumers looking for a deal, but they present a challenge for suppliers like Lamb Weston. While these promotions drive traffic, they often lead to trade down. Customers enticed by the lower overall price may opt for smaller portions of items like French fries. This means lower sales volume for suppliers, even if more customers are walking through the door. This dynamic highlights the complex relationship between fast food chains and their suppliers. It also underscores the difficult balance restaurants face in trying to attract customers while maintaining profitability in an inflationary environment.
The closure of the Lamb Weston plant is a stark reminder of the real-world consequences of economic downturns. The loss of 375 jobs will have a ripple effect throughout the local community.
These are not just numbers on a balance sheet. These are real people losing their livelihoods. The impact will be felt by families, businesses, and the community as a whole. This situation underscores the need for policies that support workers and communities during times of economic hardship.
The fast food industry is facing a perfect storm of challenges. Inflation, supply chain disruptions, and changing consumer behavior are forcing companies to adapt. It remains to be seen how these challenges will reshape the industry in the long term. Will fast food restaurants need to rethink their business models? Will we see more plant closures and job losses? One thing is certain, the industry cannot afford to stand still. Innovation and adaptability will be key to survival in this new economic landscape. The struggles of the fast food industry are a microcosm of the broader economic challenges facing the country. Inflation is impacting businesses and consumers across all sectors. From rising gas prices to soaring grocery bills, Americans are feeling the squeeze. The Federal Reserve is taking steps to combat inflation, but it remains to be seen how effective these measures will be. The coming months will be critical for the economy. The decisions made by policymakers and business leaders will have a profound impact on the lives of everyday Americans.